What's up, nerds and nerdettes and wee little nerdlings all? It's your buddy Big Johnny G for Two Gun Pixie presents Legendary Gaming, always at my side. So welcome back to another Midday Monologue Monday. Love getting outside. It feels good. It feels nice doing this outside instead of always in the nerd wasteland. So today, I am continuing a thought that I presented forth on the last Midday Monologue. And that is the concept of horror movies that I think need to be turned into games. So this one we're talking about actually covers a movie that was inspired by a game. So much so, it got sued, from what I understand, by the original company. So maybe this could cover both. I'm not sure. But what I'm wondering about is why are there not more board games about vampires? Vampires are classic, the most classic Halloween monster of all time, because it is one of the oldest monsters in recorded human history, going all the way back to the days of Sumerian Empire and the Babylonians. We have tales of these life-sucking creatures of darkness. Sometimes, according to mythology, they were once human, but not always. But where are all the games based on this, the most classic and iconic of monsters in human history? Yes, we do have a weakness, so to speak, in the lack of vampire games. So there's a movie. As I was saying, it's ripped off of a game, but still a movie nonetheless, and that is what we were talking about. We are talking about screen-to-board horror. So we have this one right here. You want to know what it is? You want to know what I am thinking about? What game I think should be made based on a movie about vampires? Oh, my friends, this loud truck is my signal that the intro is over. One of the problems when you're filming outside. But other than that, I also see that the benches are nearby, so I think it's time, if I have room, not sure, but see if it's time, I'll meet you down the bench and we'll talk about why I think this movie would make a great board game. All right, everyone, I'll see you at the bench. Yes, so we had space at the bench. So thank you for joining me here, and let's talk about this. All right, Underworld is a franchise of vampire and werewolf-inspired movies, and yet I haven't seen a game based on it. Why? I mean, there's not enough vampire games out there, and it's one of the biggest staples in human horror history. I mean, why are there not enough? Let's see. I mean, I can think of, well, of course you have Fury of Dracula, or The Fury of Dracula, and then Fury of Dracula 2nd and 3rd edition, and then The Fury of Dracula, the new edition. Still pretty much one game. There's One Night a Vampire, which is based on, One Night a Werewolf, One Night an Alien, that whole series. I know there's a game, Nosferatu, and that's very similar to RU of Vampire. It's kind of a direct rip. But that's about it. I can't really think of any other games, board games, that are about vampires. Why not? So like I was saying, Underworld is a franchise of movies of vampires versus werewolves. And it seems to me that they've always been a lot more vampire-centric, the movies. That's because the vampires see the werewolves as animals. Although they're as conscious as humans, or vampires are, they're seen as animals. There's a constant war that's been going on for hundreds of years, since like the Middle Ages, between the vampires and the lycanthropes, the lycans. This would be a great game. This would be a great vampire game. Yeah, you could do both, or just a werewolf game, switch it up, but I think that with the lack of vampire games out there, that this would be a perfect option. You know, to get this franchise rights for board games, get use of the IP, right? Now, how would I envision this, though? Well, I see it as semi-cooperative. You're all working together, but only one of you is going to win. So, sometimes you're helpful to the other players, sometimes you're harmful. Now, overall, in order to stick with the movies, it should deal with a vampire-lycan war that's going on. Now, the easiest way to do this is that each player runs a separate vampire. But I think the more interesting way to do it would be that each player runs the head of a family, the head of a vampire family. And therefore they have vampiric pawns that they're able to send out on the board and go hunting for lycans, as well as, let's say, some resource management. And the first resource that I think of, if I was a vampire, would be securing food. So that'd be a good resource to maintain. Almost like you're marking territory. You know, you're placing a worker vampire at a club, let's say, in order to show that you are in control of the blood flow from that club. As I said, besides that, you're also going to be looking for and hunting lycans. And lycans are going to be very difficult to find because they're disguised as regular people. So you'd have various abilities and gadgets in order to do this, in order to try to find the lycans. And when you do, you have to exterminate them. Yeah, that's what you want to do. You want to put them down. They're like mad dogs from your vampiric point of view. Only from that perspective. From their perspective, they're just trying to live their lycanthrope werewolfy lives. And these overbearing, tin-plated dictators with delusions of grandeur called vampires are trying to stop that. Now, another option for the game would be to have a player. You could do this as a hidden role game as well. I can also see the possibility that one player is secretly a werewolf. And he has to hide. Because if he gets found, that's it. But you can also just take the player option out of it and make that an AI drawer. Now, I also see each player having use of decks of cards that they're going to be using, not only to incorporate their own influence in certain areas, but also to mess with the other players. I think this definitely needs to have at least a light version of a take-that mechanism. Since it is semi-cooperative, you should have the opportunity to mess with the other players. Better chance for you to win. Now, another thing I think would make this game very interesting, and it make it feel very vampiric to me, is the use of in-game favors. Now, I wouldn't see this as needing tokens or chips or chits or anything like that. This is just something that the players verbally discuss at the table. Sometimes with secret notes. I love games that have secret notes in them because it always freaks out the other players. When I say other players, I mean anyone that's not getting the note you're passing. Freaks them all out. They all think that it's about them. Specifically, I like that in a game. A little bit of tension in a game is a good thing. Now, ultimately, again, I see this as a victory point system game. And I also see it as a set number of rounds. Maybe 13. This is their monsters, they're vampires. I mean, the number 13 isn't normally associated with vampires, but I can't think of any number that is. So let's just go with an arbitrary number that has a sort of negative influence. 13. And after the 13th round, you add up points for all your kills of lichens and the resources that you're in control of, and maybe bonuses granted by specific cards. And that's going to determine who the winner is. And the winner becomes the new head of all the vampiric families. Just a thought I have about how I would like to see the game. And honestly, as you noticed, I forgot my notes. So I'm trying to do a lot of this from my memory. But I think I just about covered everything I was thinking of for the game. This movie itself was a ripoff from White Wolf's RPG, Vampire: The Masquerade. And you can pretty much take everything I just said about the Underworld movie, and with very slight changes, we could make a Vampire: The Masquerade board game. Now, one of the changes would be that the specific vampire families would be the specific types of vampires from the game. Like you would have the disgusting looking Nosferatu, you would have the very feral Gangrel, you would have the crazy Malkavians, you would have the Gypsy Ravnos. There would be a lot. In fact, if this was the board game, then I think that it would probably start with 4 or 5 of the families, and you could use the rest coming down the pipeline, so to speak, with expansions. But regardless, either way, why are there not enough vampire games? Well, you throw a hat and you're not going to miss a zombie game or a Cthulhu game. Come on, give us the vampire. Humans, we have been fearing this creature since as long as we've been telling tales. Let's bring it to the board game. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for joining me for this Midday Monologue Monday, as I just ramble some of these thoughts since I forgot my notes. Oh, big wind came. I was afraid the camera was going to go flying. But all right, everyone. Thank you for checking us out over at Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Still waiting for this camera to blow over. And I also want to say a great big thank you to everyone that's been going over to the Two Gun Pixie Zazzle store, our print-on-demand store, where we have a lot of nerdy and geek-inspired craziness on some of our merchandise. Some of our designs on our hats and our shirts. So many of it is nerd-inspired or RPG-inspired. There should be something for just about anyone that watches one of these videos. Thank you so much, everyone, but mainly for right here, for coming to join us in our home in YouTube. You subscribe to the channel, you watch the videos, you like them, you comment them. Sometimes, I've noticed, sometimes you share one of our videos, which is the ultimate, coolest way for you to say thank you to me or any other content creator you enjoy. It's a great way to spread the word. Let someone else know that you thought we were worthwhile. I'm your buddy Big Johnny G. The Two Gun Pixie presents Legendary Gaming, and my friends, I am out of here.